down the way, not too far, an old-time Rockabilly coffee bar. Record machine tucked in the back, Elvis singing about a Cadillac. I'm on a BSA, been riding all day. Leather's on, goggles too, triumphant, I don't know what you wanna do. My boys are on Ducatis, happy now all the while. Yeah, these are rockers, it's their style.
Right, everybody, welcome back to the Rust is Gold Racing Podcast. We're back here on video again. I'm here with Tyson Hollywood Garcia, and we're kicking off summer, right?
Oh yeah, totally. Do you feel like you're in the summer mode?
I do. I feel fully in summer mode.
Yeah. You've been hitting the trails, doing a little bit of jogging.
Doing a little jogging. I got my slip-on Vans,
I'm
got my shorts.
good.
I'm feeling good. Yeah, it feels like summer. How about you?
Yeah, man. I mean, I am about a week away from being done with teaching, which is amazing.
Finally.
I feel pretty freaking good about that.
Finally.
It's been, summer is a bittersweet for us because we have so many events that just go back to back to back to back to back.
Is that bitter for you?
It is a little bitter. Because this should be like the relaxing time, right?
Oh, that's true.
And this is always our busiest time of the year.
Yeah.
And we just got finished up with our annual DGR ride.
Dude, DGR was killer.
It was a good year. Really good year for us. I think we raised total, last time I talked to Troy, it was close to about 19,000.
Wow.
Which is, it's a good mark. You know, we fell a little bit short of what our goal was. We were hoping to get around 20. Mm-hmm. But we did something really cool this year that I pitched, which was we do team fundraising.
Yeah.
And we got lucky. We got the highest team fundraising for all the events out there.
It's not really luck, dude. I mean, we've got the biggest moto community in town, seriously. You know, and everything that we do where we put out, hey, support this cause or that cause, people show up for it. So here I'm going with my Italian hands again.
Your hands are in the shots again. But we didn't really promote it heavily. We were just like, hey, we had these team things. If you want to sign up, you can. We had something like 22 riders, I think, signed up for our team. Kristen was one of them, if you noticed.
Yep.
She was late. She showed up the day of and signed up, but she did.
Not true. In my defense.
I got text messages from her. So how do I sign up? What time do I show up?
The day before.
The day before. And partially my fault.
I was there for Rust is Gold, not for for myself.
It's all
that
good.
was all about Rust is Gold.
But like probably about 3 or 4 days. And then another thing that we had to do, which we had to take on a little bit more heavily than last year, is usually you and I get to kind of hang back, help the shop clean up, get everything kind of organized. We take a nice slow drive with Christy because she likes to be in the back of the pack. She likes to be in the very back. At her own speed, which I totally understand nowadays. But this year we got wrangled into having to do ride captaining, which I hadn't done in years since the DCR days, with those huge events that we were doing. And we got finagled into that, and we had to organize our rides and stuff like that. And that was when I told you, hey, man, you're going to have to take the rear. Yeah. I'm going to do the front. We're going to do the last group. We had stages of like 4 different groups. There were supposed to be 35 to 40 riders. We got about 100.
I don't know what happened there because we took off, and suddenly we started gathering riders as we went along. Yeah. And even like the last half of the group that I was sweeping, there was already like 50 people in that pack. And
I don't even know where they came from.
I like sweeping though. Because you kind of you just kind of cruise, and if anybody's like having issues, you kind of just see what's going on. You don't have to look back and see a trail of bikes and be like responsible for
lights and all that stuff, and making sure you're hitting the turns and all that. Yeah, it was like a pack of bees to honey, man. I don't know. Totally. Started off with like 30 or 40 bikes, and before you know it, I was like, where are all these bikes coming from? Yeah, but it was a great event. The other cool thing too that I always like about this is there's always some new people that I've never seen in New Mexico before that show up to these events, right? True. And everyone dresses up and they put on a good show for Albuquerque, which can be kind of tough. Yeah. It can be a little difficult to get people to dress up around here sometimes.
I mean, turquoise polo and boots is not dressing up.
Tucked in Harley shirt or something.
Right. There was plenty of those. I did see a few of those.
There was.
But, everyone dresses up, and the other cool thing, too, is that all the new people that come in to these events, like we had some new riders that I'd never met before. We had a couple from like South America that showed up, and they all said that like everybody was really kind, polite, generous, you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
just in good spirits. And I don't think you get that all the time. We've talked about this before.
Totally.
A lot of these rides, I mean, we were doing DCR rides for days, and those, you would even get a couple grumpy dudes out there sometimes, and
A couple.
you know, a couple
Yeah.
flipping off cars as they
Oh,
were
yeah,
driving by
totally.
and stuff like that. But no one seemed to do that, and that's what I like about this
Yeah,
event.
there was one funny incident that happened right out of the shoot,
Oh,
right?
you talking about the tailpipe?
No. Well, there was that. There was the tailpipe. But we were headed down Eubank. We got about 1.5 miles from the shop, and one of the kids on the crotch rocket pulls out into the left lane and starts wheeling it. And I had to sweep up from the back, and I rolled up against him, and I was like, "Dude, no."
Yeah.
And he like looked at me like, you know, like, "Dude." I'm like, "No, back in line." And I was like, "Great, it
got
just
the finger
started."
wag.
And here's the kid on the crotch rocket doing wheelies. But I'm like, can't have that, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
we talked to everybody before we took off.
Plenty of times.
Just be smart, be safe, don't
It
cause
was
any
like
problems.
a parade. People were
It
waving
was.
us.
Oh yeah,
at us
yeah.
down
People
Rio
loved it.
Grande,
It was
and,
great.
oh,
I'm gonna
yeah.
post a bunch of pictures, you know, on the video here, and I'm sure you'll see a lot of these guys here, you know,
Yeah.
in the video. And
I mean, the tricky thing is like for Steve and I, you know, we've been doing DGR for probably 9 years now. And then before that, we were doing DCR for probably about another 9 to 10 before that. So we've been doing group rides and all this kind of stuff for probably close to 20 years at
Long
this
time.
point, you know,
Yeah.
and I tend to forget because we've been doing this for so long that this is really exciting for a lot of other people. And for a lot of other people, they have never done a group ride and stuff
Right.
like this. This is their shot to get out and like have people take photos of them. This is their opportunity. And I tend to forget that, and I have to
Yeah.
remind myself, like, this is why, you know, we tend to do these things.
yeah, it's fun for people. They want to be a part of it. They want to ride in a big group for once, because you see it on TV all the time, right? And if you never do it, it's a whole different thing. There's definitely a choreography that goes with riding, right? You know, fill in the spot where somebody else isn't, stagger to the right or left, you know, and a lot of people don't know that. So it's interesting to see how people try and make their way down the road who've never
The
really
rules
done
of
it.
staggered riding.
Yeah.
But that was a great event this weekend.
It's fun.
And we sort of introduced these guys, right?
Right.
Because we talked about
Yeah,
them
enough
being
about
part of the
DGR.
route.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
It
all
was
in the
so
past.
fun.
yeah, that was a blast.
It was in the past,
So
yeah.
who do we have here today?
So, longtime friends of ours, and this is going to be an interesting thing because we've seen this incarnation of this group for a while now.
Yeah.
Probably about 4 or 5 years, right?
This particular group or the Litas in general?
Well, you can go back even further, but
Right.
let's start off with kind of like the basic of the Albuquerque group.
Yeah.
We've seen the Albuquerque group incarnation probably for about 4 years, right?
Yeah,
We're
it's been
around
4 or
there.
5 years.
2019.
Around three,
I think it was
around
2019 or 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was kind of like when we started the coffee shop is when the Litas started forming around
I think so.
the shop and
Yeah.
and your wife and Sarah and a few of them, right?
Yeah. Well,
So-
that was a little bit later, but the beginning of the coffee shop, there were some Litas.
right.
Yeah, I
So-
joined in 2020, and then we kind of took a little bit of a change in leadership, and then it kind of restarted again.
Right.
After
So
that.
we have, you know, a new incarnation of that, and it's really taken off. Got a Bay Area friend of mine, Kristen, in the house, who is kind of new to New Mexico.
Yeah, 3 years now. I think that was one of the first things with the first week. I'm all, where's the lady riders? Where are all the women who ride? Where's the Litas? What's happening? And, yeah.
And joined by,
Crystal.
Crystal
And
Hatcher.
like I said, yes, I've been a leader since 2020 with a different leadership, and then kind of went through some changes, and now I'm kind of back, and I'm enjoying it.
Yay.
Yeah, I remember when Kristen walked in and she was like so determined to find women riders.
really.
No, seriously, she walked in
Is
and
this
she
where
was
you
like,
came first?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I think
Yeah.
I moved here on New Year's Eve, and I was here on the 1st or the 2nd. Yeah, I found a ride on the 1st, but I had met you guys before I even moved here. Somebody introduced me to the shop, and so, oh, yeah.
but it was the first question.
Yeah.
Where do I find women who ride? No, I'm not even kidding. Which was like it was an awesome question because she was like determined to like find a way to ride with other people, especially women, which was really cool.
Absolutely.
And I don't think I met you until later on, right? Like you
Yeah,
started
the first
coming in.
time when I joined the Litas, I don't think we started coming out towards the end of it, but that was also like the COVID time, and so there wasn't a lot of meetups and as much things that we were doing, and then yeah, so we didn't really start getting out into events until like 2021. But I lived down the street from here, and so I discovered this place through the Litas and through the motorcycles, and just started coming here as a customer, and then I started getting involved in more events.
Well, interesting enough, Stephen has kind of like the earliest incarnation, believe it or not, of the Litas. He was around at the very beginning of kind of the forming of it. Through
Yeah.
the documentary that he did, Caffeine and Gasoline, and he met the original
Awesome.
founders and that whole story.
Yeah,
So-
it was interesting because I was trying to do the documentary and include like a lot of different stories. And
Keep in mind the documentary is how old now?
Well, I started it in 2015, so that's 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
2015. Yeah. So I started looking at like different cultural aspects of like
Cults.
rocker culture.
A little bit.
Kind of cultish, of rocker culture specifically. But then I started going down this rabbit hole of women riders. I was out at Bonneville and I met a couple of female racers that were setting land speed records, and I thought there's this whole female aspect to this that I really need to explore. So while I was in Utah, somebody told me about Jessica Haggett at the time, and that she had started, the first Litas chapter, I guess, right? Is that what you guys call it, chapter?
Yeah.
They're in Salt Lake City, and I tracked her down, and she was super stoked to come and talk, and featured her in the documentary, and she was very cool. But her whole philosophy about riding was awesome, because you hear guys talk about that all the time, but you never really hear women talk about how it makes you feel when you ride, the freedom, this whole aspect of independence, and not just that, but also working together as a group of women, to kind of empower each other. And I thought that was fantastic.
And I don't think she had any idea that it would take
so
off
either.
the way
You don't
it
think
did.
so, Steve?
Oh.
No, because the way she was talking it was really about just getting like mostly her local riders together and having a place to go ride safely, with other women.
Sure.
But it started to spread like a fire. And
But,
then
you
she
know-
started getting contacted from all over the world to start chapters.
Which is what started the collective.
Yes.
And then once the collective was created, then we were in touch with, became international, like instantaneously.
Yeah, you should talk more about that, because I only know up to a certain point, you know what I mean? But how did it take off from there?
Well, and you can probably speak to this too, but I think, like you said, you got to the point where she was getting bombarded with calls and people were like, oh, this is cool, how do we find each other? And it just became a common conversation, I think, when it became more, you just started seeing more and more women on the road. And so then she started the collective, and basically it's just all the various different chapters across, started with the country, but now it's around the world,
Right.
of where you just create a page on this app and you're like, okay, we have an organization in Albuquerque. So people traveling through New Mexico see that we have one, or through various different towns across the states, and then they can reach out to people from that area. And it's how I found all the Litas up in Colorado. I was on a 3-month road trip. I was up in Colorado, had my bike, and reached out to them, and never hooked up for a ride. It never happened, but I was able to talk with them about rides.
That's
So
amazing.
you don't have to be a Lita then to be a part of the collective, because then you can kind of just meet up and
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's kind of this unspoken thing. You're just
Just
whether
secret
you
society?
identify with that or not, I don't know. How
But
would
that's
you?
that's what's nice about the Litas is it's
You know,
it's not a club. There's no rules. It is literally just women supporting women.
Sure.
It is just, you want to ride, you show up, you know that you're going to be supported, you know that if you're a new rider that we're going to help you out, you know that if you've never been on a group ride, we're going to teach you, we're going to put your comfort level into aspects when we're doing things. And so it's just nice because there's no, all of us are working, a lot of us are parents, a lot of
Yeah.
us are, full-time jobs, and so it's hard to always be on a certain schedule, or I have to do so many things. And it's nice because you can be gone for a couple of months and show up and you're still like family.
That's cool.
And so it's just nice because it's literally just a collective of
casual.
women.
It's
It's very
really
casual. It's
casual.
very supportive, and it's nice to have the internet because
Yeah.
now that we have this collective app, you can get on there and ask questions. You can share thoughts. You can share pictures. You can ask for help, and you don't just have your local Litas. You have this huge collective worldwide.
That's cool.
People that have maybe the same bike as you, that have the same issue with gear as you, have the same issue, because women have a lot of issues that men don't have with gear. Gear is not geared towards women. We have, our bodies are built different, all these different things, and
Right.
even our bikes, the bikes are needing to be lowered, the bikes need to be different. And so it's nice to be able to get on there and saying, hey, I am this short or I am this tall and I need a bike. What is good for you? And then you've got all these women, I'm like that too. This is a
Yeah.
good bike to go try. This is a good thing. I need to go ride this, but I'm scared. No, let me go with you. You know what I mean? It's just nice.
Is this an app that anybody can download?
Yeah,
It's
so back
called-
to your question. Yeah, anyone can be on it.
Yeah.
Anyone.
You don't have to.
Don't
Men?
have to be.
No,
No.
Okay,
all
so-
women.
so it
okay,
is female
it's female
specific.
based,
Yeah.
but you don't have to identify as a Lita
Yeah.
to be able to be on there. You don't have to say
That's actually pretty cool.
I'm a Lita, so therefore I have access to this. Any woman has access
So
to
you guys
it.
are bringing up things that like we don't really think about, a lot of that stuff. You know what I mean? Because not
I'm
to
sure
like
you think about it
stereotype.
now that you ride with Christy,
but I'm saying
right?
like when we had DCR, right? It was like we didn't really think about like, you know, having to reach out to each other about specific stuff. Some things were like wrenching and stuff like that, but you guys actually reach out to each other for a lot of different things.
Absolutely. And a perfect example, if you guys were traveling and you're not in your home state and you broke down, who would you call?
Well,
A
it depends.
local shop.
Yeah.
Local shop.
Yeah.
But it's
So-
different for women to do that.
Yeah, I mean,
Especially if we know
you don't-
nothing about bikes or nothing.
Right.
You know, like
And
me
that's kind of my
personally,
point.
me
Yeah.
personally, I don't have as much of an issue because I grew around in automotive and mechanic stuff. And so for me, when something goes wrong, I don't have an issue calling a local mechanic or local whoever and being like, hey, come fix this. But a lot of women are very intimidated by that.
Yeah.
And that's-
or when they
and that's
break
what I'm
down, they
saying.
also
Well,
have a
they
safety
got on.
issue
There
around them.
was one situation where she got on and she just kind of blasted out. I'm stuck in Gallup. Does anyone have a trailer? And within 10 minutes, somebody was like, I got a trailer. I'll be there.
See, that's what
Someone
I'm saying.
she didn't even know.
For
just showed
us,
up for
it would be
her
one of those
and-
things. If we couldn't fix it ourselves, I don't know that we would feel like concerned so much about our safety and stuff. As unfair as that is, we would just kind of figure it out and maybe wave somebody down and hitch a ride back or something. But for you guys, just the nature of the world, that's an amazing thing that you could
Yeah.
do that. You could just blast it out there and somebody knows, hey, I'm going to go help. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Or if we break down, we reach out. Does anyone live in the area? Can I crash at your house?
That's
Do you have an
super
extra
cool.
room?
No, very cool.
So
Yeah,
it's,
'cause I mean,
it's
I could
definitely
see
level
how
of safety.
You might be intimidated to go to a local mechanic, right? That you don't know. This guy.
And
could
then
be
we're kinda
in
stuck.
the middle of
Well,
nowhere. It
now
could be
what?
like freaking Roswell. You know, it could be like Texas Chainsaw Massacre in this mechanic shop, and you're like, hey,
I was feeling good a minute ago.
We're not picking on you, Roswell.
I'm here. We got a flat tire. Can you maybe help me
Yeah,
out?
all of it.
I
Just
mean,
all
yeah,
of
I could
it.
see that.
Yeah.
That could be kind of
Yeah.
I
crazy.
mean,
So,
all the way across the board, from learning about bikes and finding gear that fits to safety.
You know, another aspect of that, which I thought was really cool, was we hosted the Moto Maidens here at the coffee shop, which
that
is
was so
another
fun.
female ride group, right? And you guys all just kind of clicked together.
Oh my
which
God, they were like
I don't know
long-lost
that you would see
sisters.
that. I don't know if you would see that in a men's thing, you know, a club specifically. I mean, like just as an independent rider, sure, you would hook up with other groups, right? But as a club, I thought that was cool that you guys were like, hey, let's do this together. You know, one of the girls had to borrow a bike. You know, it was a cool thing, and
Yeah.
I think that's pretty. I'm not going to say typical, but very unique to like the female riding culture because I
Well, and it's
see
unique
that.
to women too. Women, we just we generally do that. We gravitate to that. So then throw some motorcycles in there with it. We're golden. Like we got each other. It's like so. It's just a camaraderie that I think many of us came up into riding bikes with a partner, a husband, a boyfriend, a brother, some male counterpart is what got us on the bike in the first place, or got us on the back of the bike in the first place, and then quickly, whatever, if our personality was drawn to it, we're like, we don't like being on the back. We want to be in control.
Yeah.
And so this has just lent itself to it. If I hadn't have had the Litas in the Bay Area, I don't know if I would have started riding so quickly.
That's interesting.
Because I got my endorsement, and then right away met the founder of the Bay Area Litas, and right away she's like, let's go riding tomorrow.
Well, that's
And
a good point.
it was just
Tyson-
instant.
Tyson usually starts with this question, like, how did you start riding? Like, Crystal, how did you start?
It was during COVID. I grew up with, like I said, mechanics as a family. My dad, my brothers, all my uncles. And so riding like dirt bikes and four-wheelers and go-karts and things like that in Los Lunas was just something that was a part of my life growing up. And then my husband, I was always wanted a bike, but I was a mom of twins. They were young, and I was kind of like, I don't want to die right now. So we just kind of kept holding off, and then COVID hit, and we were all stuck at home, and there was nothing better to do, and the streets were fairly empty. So on a whim, we literally both bought bikes and taught ourselves to ride during COVID in a parking lot, and then just started riding. And then again, I did kind of what Kristen did. I went on Facebook looking specifically for women riders, and a friend of mine that's no longer with us, she reached out and was like, hey, come join us at the Litas at Tin Can Alley. They were still open because it was an outdoor space, and so I was like, sure. And I showed up there as a very inexperienced, still new rider, felt very novice, and they pulled me in right away. And right away, it just felt like I was like, oh, this is comfortable. You're not always going to get along with every single buddy in the group, but there's enough of them, and our attitudes are all really good about each other that we learn to get along. And so it was just really nice from the very beginning.
Nice. And you ride an Indian now?
I do. That's my baby.
Did Kristen sell you that?
She didn't. I
before.
learned on a boulevard, and I really like how the Suzuki Boulevard rode. But I have had a dream of an Indian for a while. So as soon as I got comfortable on my boulevard, I just started looking, and I got really lucky. This guy bought it expecting to ride to work every day, and then COVID hit and left him working at home. And it was sitting in his garage, and I was like, okay, I'll take it. So I got it.
I like the Scout. It's a cool
Yeah.
bike.
Yeah,
I love
it's
it.
a great
Very cool bike.
example of an intro bike for a woman too.
Yeah.
I mean, she can
Or
speak
anybody.
volumes about
Yeah.
that.
It's
Yeah.
the low seat height, the whole thing.
Yeah.
the power.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
What about you, Kristen? How did you get started?
How did I get
Into bikes?
Into bikes, yeah. Same thing. Kind of grew up riding dirt bikes with my brothers, and but there was always this element of, "You're a girl. You're not allowed on our bike. That's our bike. It's the
You sure
boys'
that
bike."
was just a brother thing?
Maybe, well, wherever.
bet it was a
I'm
brother
sure it was
thing.
a brother thing, but regardless, I wasn't allowed on
I'm sure
the
that's what it
bike.
was.
And then I got married, and I wasn't allowed on a bike. So you can imagine, you guys know me, how that it didn't
well.
last much longer.
Imagine what? The marriage or the bike?
Obviously neither.
Sounds like both.
And then, yeah, after my divorce, got certified, and so I kind of came into it after the fact. I did have some friends who rode, and so they kind of got me comfortable with it. So I did start with riding with a male friend, got certified, got comfortable with it, but right away met one of the Litas, and same thing, same experience. Crystal is, she just, let's go ride tomorrow. Like instantly, she's like, you're my new friend, and we're gonna go ride, and we're gonna have the best time. And then we were going to camp outs, and then we were doing trips together, and then it was just this community that quickly developed into a lifestyle and a love for motorcycles. And I remember when I was younger, in my 20s, living in San Francisco, met a woman who rode, and that's the first thing she said, and it's always stuck with me. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so once I dipped into it, it was like this light bulb went off of like, oh, I get it. I get it. Even my daughter was on the back with me one time, and we got to a stop sign, grin from ear to ear, and she looks around at me and she's like, Mom, I get it now. I totally get it.
It's interesting because when I was in DCR with Tyson, and we used to go on trips and have events, and we'd have big rallies and all kinds of cool things. Christy was always there, my wife, but she kind of didn't really get it. She thought it was cool that, we all hung out and did a bunch of cool stuff, but she didn't get the riding aspect of it. And then when she started riding, it was like same thing, like a switch went off, and it was like, I totally get it. I totally get it. She wants to ride all the time. You reached out to her and you're like, you'd be, perfect to join Litas. And she really loves being a part of it, the whole aspect of being on the same page with really cool people. But I also remember when you started, there was a little bit of like growing pains for you, right? Like you were a little bit like, oh, I don't quite know how I'm going to keep this all together. Do you feel like it's really come together now?
You gave me the best advice I ever heard that day, because I was so frustrated and I was just disgruntled, and I was like, why doesn't anyone have the same enthusiasm I have?
Yeah.
Because when you start something like that, your just enthusiasm is through the roof for it. And there was a lot of enthusiasm where I came from for writing and women writing together. And so I think I brought this kind of inflated expectation here. And I got schooled that first year of just like, okay, we need to trust you. We need to get to know you more. Because I just came in, I'm like, lady writers, let's, just kind of a little, it's like I needed to dial it down a little bit. And the advice that you gave me was to not take it personal. And I think once I let go of that it wasn't a personal thing. Everybody's got their life, everybody's got things going on. Like you said, we're all busy. And then it just kind of gelled well after that.
Yeah.
A few people fell off. There was a big, kind of a rift that happened, a falling out. And those people fell off, and now it's been great ever since. And the nice thing, and back to Christy, back to your wife, is that people can come in and ride their own ride. Christy's still getting comfortable. I mean, we've offered to go out on just the two of us and just ride on a Monday when nobody's on the roads, and just ride your own ride and hook up with someone that you feel comfortable with and go on rides with them outside of it. And so that's the nice thing about it, is that when you meet someone, I think it's more about that when you meet someone that you gel with, and you're like, I trust you, you're a friend, and I feel like you've got my back, so therefore I feel comfortable on the road with you.
Yeah.
And so when you have those kind of relationships, because sometimes there are relationships where you just are different kind of riders.
Absolutely.
Like the guy doing the wheelie.
Yeah.
You're just different kind of riders. Some are and so Christy's not going to feel comfortable going out with someone if one of us is just doing wheelies down the road.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Yeah.
Right.
Get that Harley and the Indian up.
Yeah.
I want to see that too.
No, I give her the same advice all the time. She comes back sometimes from rides and she feels a little like she's not where she wants to be, you know, and I tell her, you know, you're not riding for anybody else but yourself. You know, you're out there. Do you get a great feeling when you ride? And she's like, yeah. Does it feel amazing? Yeah. That's why you're riding, not to impress anyone, not to beat anyone, not to go fast. You're just to ride for you, you know? And I think she's starting to get that. But it's hard when you're around people that have been riding for years, right? You kind of feel like you should be elevated to that level. You can't compare yourself to Tyson and I, who've been riding forever, right? I mean, you have to ride your own ride.
And we all get there at different times.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
you know, a lot of the times you and I like to kind of like tease Christy a little bit. We give her a little bit of gruff, but like all in loving spirit.
Yeah.
And I do respect the fact that she says, you know, I'm going to go at my pace, you know, and I'm going to go at my speed, and I'm just going to kind of take this the way I want to so I can enjoy the ride. And I think it's, you know, very admirable that you guys allow your riders to do that and you don't push each other, because there was times in DCR which, you know, I'm partially to blame for this because we were all kind of young in our 20s and we'd go out to the bar and we'd go ripping through town like a bunch of maniacs. And
well, I was in my early 40s.
But we even have people in their 40s and 50s doing the same thing.
Doing
you know?
the same
It's like,
thing,
you get a couple liquor buzzes and we all we're building these cafe bikes that are trying to meet a certain speed, and we start pushing each other. And it wasn't only DCR. Like I've seen that with a lot of other clubs that I've ridden with throughout time.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
the Harley guys that I ride with sometimes, like, we get going and luckily, like, one of the older guys will stay to the back and they'll say, hey, like, you know, this guy doesn't feel comfortable, so we're going to take it slow. And for the most part, people respect the idea of ride your own ride. But there's also a lot of people that do not.
Yeah.
And we've all seen that happen a lot of
We've
times.
seen it in the Litas too. I mean,
So how do you guys approach that then?
Well,
Or
in the
do you
case that I
approach that?
saw, in the case that it did happen one time with one of the founders of the Litas of Bay Area now, when she first started riding, went to one of the Babes Ride Out. And she hooked up with one of the existing Litas, and that particular woman decided she was going to go 95. It was dark. My friend was a new rider, and she was in tears by the time she got there because she was so scared the whole time trying to keep up with the pack. And so she just decided at that point that she was going to ride on her own. And once she got more comfortable and more familiar, and eventually that woman who was really driving her and pushing her kind of fell away because that's just not what we were about.
Yeah.
And same thing, I experienced it myself one time. It was a pack of 12 of us coming back from Babes Ride Out. It was raining. I had just gotten my Dyna, no windshield. Everybody had cruise control but me, and it was brutal. I was in tears by the time we got to, I don't know, whatever the first stop was. And it's kind of how I got my road name too, but I mean, it's just
What do they call you?
Slinky.
Crybaby?
No,
I thought it was Thundercat.
no, that's your name for me.
That's not probably
It
later.
was Slinky because I was like, wah, wah,
Oh, okay.
wah,
That's a terrible
wah.
name. You should tell them to screw off.
That's
dude.
pretty rough.
I know. But it's
Tell them
like, and I
Slinky
was in tears,
my
and I was
fist to your
like,
face, dude. How's that feel?
Dang.
and I was so upset. And then when she realized what was happening, how upset I was, because they were going through construction zones in the rain at 95, and I was just like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And once she realized that, like, she was pushing me to the point where I was so uncomfortable that, I mean, it takes a lot to break me, but she broke me.
Really?
And she comes over, and in that moment we realized, as a pack, we need to slow down. We have Kristen here that doesn't have any of these special features on her bike that we all have. So as a pack, we need to like cool it down a little bit. And I was like, thank you for seeing that.
You've been riding since COVID. So generally speaking, in the terms of like years of riding, that's not a lot of seat time.
No, I'm definitely still a novice. I'm still not completely comfortable. DGR is probably, well, I take it back. The international female ride that we did out to Moriarty in 2020 was probably my first big group ride. That one was a little bit, it was scary. We did ride with the Litas that we had then, but it was definitely scary and out of my comfort zone. But I also still felt comfortable because in our big giant group, we still had our little pack of Litas, and so I still feel comfortable because the people around me I knew were kind of keeping me safe. I do remember on the way back though, we weren't really riding in a group on the way back, obviously. But we have a member who likes to speed, but she's also very honest about it. And so on the way back, she was like, I'm leaving now, you guys can come, but I will probably be speeding. So if I leave you behind, don't feel like you have to catch up. So as soon as she started going, and it was very windy that day for Moriarty, when she started going and zooming down, 70, 80, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna hang back. And so me and about 3 or 4 others, we hung back and we cruised at 65.
I got a question for you then, riding this big group ride Sunday, because that was probably one of the bigger rides you've ridden, right?
It didn't feel as big to me because you guys broke it up in the groups. So the
Gotcha.
first time I rode DGR was it was 4 years ago, 2020, 2021, and it was when we were going to Cafe Bella.
Gotcha.
And that one felt bigger to me because it was all one big group, but we also had like the truck stopping at all the intersections, making sure we were all getting through.
True.
And so it felt very safe still, but it was also the first time that I was on Paseo in a big group ride. It was the first time that we had to go through that little scary intersection from like Alameda over and crossing over to get over to West Side to turn to get over to Cafe Bella. But we did have a truck that kind of blocked it.
Yeah.
But that was a very novice rider. I had barely been riding almost a year when that happened. It was very intimidating, but it was also like, okay, I can do this. It's not that bad. And so since then, I've been trying to do more group rides, but I'm going to be honest, they're not my absolute favorite. I would rather be a group of like 10 or 12 and just kind of stay small than like hundreds. But I also am the same way where once I get into it, it is so amazing to hear and feel the rumble and hear it and seeing the bikes in front of you and behind you and the people waving. Like that's an experience that everybody should experience. Yeah. But it's also not my favorite thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good that you guys, I was just having this conversation actually with Mercy today about, it's important to find a group that you feel comfortable with and nobody's pushing you in a direction you don't want to go, right? The idea is you always ride your own ride because like Steve said, it's your ride. It's nobody else's. And I think one of the missteps that we take as experienced riders is we end up pushing people that are not ready to be pushed too fast, too hard. And I saw that happen a million times in DCR, and it was a bummer when it did.
Yeah.
But as we have all gotten kind of older and had more riding experience, it's important to be more cognizant of that, and the people that you have around you.
And also know your own limitations. Sometimes we get so excited and we get on a bike and we're like, yeah, and then we kind of get ourselves into situations where we are a little bit in over our head. And so
I was impressed with your riding when the three of us went to Taos.
Oh, that was
we were pushing it there.
We were pushing it. Indian allowed us to take some of the bikes, and
we weren't pushing it, Indian. We were
we were
we were going at a good pace. And Kristen, I felt like you were right there with us the whole time. I mean, we weren't going crazy, but it felt like you were a good, confident rider in the different types of road that we were riding. There was twisties, there was like some stretches, it was windy, there was a little rain. I mean, it was like, it was a lot of stuff. And you were right there. I mean, I didn't even think about the fact that what kind of rider you were. You just felt like you were riding with us, and it was great.
Well, you guys were you guys helped me feel comfortable. It wasn't like I was just being thrown into a situation. You had a part in that.
Yeah.
So
we've got a big event coming up this weekend. And it involves you guys. Why don't you tell us about the event this weekend?
So the event is, Indian is co-sponsoring with the Litas. They donated some hats, some gift certificates, so we'll be giving out some awards for our favorite bikes. So leaders are going to show up. We're going to be there to answer any questions. If any women have any questions about either joining us on some rides or interested in getting started riding, we have a lot of seasoned riders that will be here. So there's a lot of people that you can tap into. But yeah, it's just going to be, like your moto meetup we want the lady riders to come out though.
Yeah, so this will be this Sunday, which is our annual moto meetup, or monthly moto meetup on the 25th, Sunday the 25th of May, going from about 9 to noon. We usually give out trophies at about 11. We'll have all state trophies plus some Indian trophies that you guys have. Are you guys going to be picking Indian specific bikes or just
no,
in
just
general?
Indians there to donate the items that they gave us to donate. They're just kind of there to sponsor it. But no, we're going to, last year we actually had women enter bikes and we made trophies, but honestly, the date kind of got away from us, so we're doing something a little bit different. But
They tend to do that.
oh my gosh, like you said, summer's here.
Are you guys going to do a ride after? Do you have anything planned?
The way we like to keep it kind of loose, and it's unspoken thing. It's like we've kind of stopped, unless we have, let me back up a little bit. We do have our monthly meetups, which are the third Sunday of every month. We switched it so we didn't conflict with the moto meetups. So those are pretty organized. We go to a specific place. But when we get together like this, it's just more about who shows up.
Cool.
And then see where people want to go. We usually go grab some lunch and kind of
I heard there was going to be a gigantic pool party at Steve's house.
Only if it's an algae. It's a green
Yeah, we
bath.
had to move the date on that. We do have a new date on that.
I heard you have a new date. My wife offers up these things that I never know until like the week before.
Well, brilliant.
By the
me.
way, you need to clean the pool.
I've been promoting this and realize I'm like, oh, I never confirmed with Christy if that's okay. She's like, and I saw that date floating around and never confirmed with you if that was actually so. It was just Christy and I were like passing in the night.
Yeah.
So when new riders come in and they find out that this is happening and they talk to you guys, what do you usually like to tell them?
Kind of basically what we've been hearing here at the table is just we are an open group. We're not a club. There's no dues. We're not affiliated with anyone. We are just women who like to gather and ride motorcycles.
Okay.
And it's as simple as that. And so we just say, if you ever want to ride with us, I've actually had a few different women come and say, can we just go out just us? And so that I can get comfortable with it, or can we go out like 4 or 5 so I can learn how to stagger? And so we'll actually have women say, would you mind teaching me how to XYZ, whatever it is?
That's very cool.
And learn how to stagger. In fact, I remember Liz and I took someone out that was kind of new to the group, and we just went on, the 3 of us, and kind of taught her how to like close it in so the cars don't get between us, how to get comfortable riding that close to someone. Because I
Right.
think that's one of the biggest fears is that you've got someone right on your tail and you're on someone else's tail. And I think what happens in group rides is we tend to, which is how I got my name, but we tend to slinky back a little bit and give a lot of space. And in group rides, that's not always the safest thing. And so we want to make sure cars aren't getting between us. And so, yeah, so we're open to almost anything, to be honest.
cool.
And how many ladies do you guys have riding with you currently at this moment?
15-ish.
Yeah.
That's a good
15
number.
on a good given day if everybody
Yeah.
shows up, maybe a little more, a little less. There's maybe like
Comes and
maybe
goes.
9 of us that are very consistent
Sure.
because of our
Yeah,
schedules
that's
are
what
a
I
little
would
bit
say.
easier.
It's
But
like more consistent.
That's a good, healthy
Being like-
number.
It is.
Yeah.
know,
We do have a
once-
few in Santa Fe that come down in summer months, so we do have a couple ladies up there. We also have people with us who identify as women, so it's not, it's not gender specific so much in that sense.
How many actual members do you have in Albuquerque? Maybe not that ride all the time, but consider themselves part of the group.
there's quite a few on the app that have like registered for the Albuquerque chapter. Not all of them are very active either on the app or in person,
I would
but
say
I'm not
25
sure.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
We
a
finally
good
got to
number.
meet one of them.
Yeah.
Really?
Becky. Yeah, she'd
Yeah,
been
Becky.
on the
Yeah.
app forever, and just because she's got a bunch of kids and just timing and stuff, and so we finally got to meet her at the car meetup. Which was amazing to finally meet her. So, I mean, that happens too. We'll meet someone or somebody else will meet someone. Hey, I'm going to give them, so we also have a group me app that we add people to. So somebody will come in, like they met a woman at a bike night, gave her the group me out, she jumps in, we're all meeting this woman, but it could be months and months before we
Before they
actually
show
meet
up.
them.
Yeah.
I
So
think-
are you guys officers? You're founder of the Albuquerque
they don't do that,
chapter? You
right?
don't do
We do
Yeah, we don't.
co-founders.
Okay.
Yeah, Tanya and I are co-founders.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
I think when you guys, it's obvious that you guys have the ability to grow, but, it comes in a healthy kind of margin, I believe. I think if you guys can keep it relatively around the 30 number, it's always the easiest. That way personalities don't conflict. And then ride groups, I always felt better like in groups of 4 to 5.
Yeah,
maybe
for sure.
6 at best.
And that's about what's
What we-
been kind of consistent.
Yeah.
About
That's a
6
comfortable
to
group.
8.
Yeah.
You can make
Yeah.
it through lights. You don't get
Exactly.
broken up along the way.
Exactly. And we
Keep
also
balance.
just ride to the slowest person, whatever their comfort zone. And we know each other well enough now that we know how each other rides. So if
Yeah.
a new person comes in, we just pop them in the middle and and say, follow us.
Well, sort of one last thing before we wrap it up here. Got a special little event that we dragged Tyson into coming up on the 1st.
I heard he's so excited about it.
He's going to grill hot dogs for you, is what I heard.
I have a special
Coffee,
apron.
hot dogs,
I have a
the whole
special
thing.
apron for him.
Does it have a hot dog on it?
Property of. Just kidding.
So this kind of all came about because Tyson and I were getting ready for Builtwell for a year, right? We went to Builtwell last year, and Christy wanted to go ride, and some of the other ladies wanted to ride, and ended up didn't register for it or didn't have bikes for it. So Christy started talking about, I want to do a desert thing. So I mentioned it to you, and you're like, that's amazing.
Yeah, we got
Let's
so
do it.
on board with that.
But like many things that happen with you guys, I kind of just wanted to wait and see if it was really a real thing.
real?
If you guys really wanted to do it. And then you, in the last couple of weeks, have been like, yeah, we're ready to go. We're ready to go. Want to do shirts. Want to do
Yep,
blah, blah, blah.
yep.
So we decided to get involved and help you guys a little bit, organize, map out a trail, stuff like that. But what it is a Lucky 13 desert ride, right? Tell us about it. Why'd you come up with that name?
So this is an opportunity for us to get out on the dirt, and for many of us, I mean, we have experience on dirt, and Christy has
Not a
experience
long
on
time,
dirt.
but yes.
Yeah, but a lot of women don't. It's
Yeah.
totally different riding
Totally
experience, and so this is an opportunity for the women to come out with their families, their kids, their friends, and I just want to shout out to the other men who are bringing bikes for us, because a lot of us are street riders, and so a lot of people are showing up with their dirt bikes. A lot of guys are coming out with those, and it's just going to be a fun event so that we can get comfortable in the dirt. So I really have you to thank for that,
Yeah.
because a lot of us don't have dirt bikes, and this is an opportunity for us to get off the pavement and see what a different kind of ride dirt
Tyson
is.
looks really scared right now.
He did say his bike would murder one of us, or
His
take your
bike-
leg off. That's what he said.
His
My
bike
bike will
scares
take your leg
his
off.
bike scares me. Seriously.
Your bike scares me.
But his is that Kawasaki's scary.
Well, Shelby at Builtwell was like, can I ride this? And I was like, dude, if you want to break your neck, you can. I can barely hold on to this thing, dude.
Yeah, but she ended up buying a dirt bike because she
Yeah.
was so excited
Yeah.
about it.
It would
so.
be cool, when we do start getting ready and our bikes are in good shape, we're trying to get out there at least once a month. Right? There's about
More.
4 or 5 of us.
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
go
we
out,
should just
and we
make
go
a
out
thing of
every
it.
Sunday.
Yeah.
And we're out there just prepping and getting ready and shaking down these bikes. But it's always fun to have more people out there than us. Even if you don't tend to ride with us or whatever the case is, it's just a good time.
Yeah.
It is.
It's a lot of fun.
And that's what this is. It's a family-friendly event just to
Totally
get out, hang out.
family-friendly.
We're going to take some coffee and make sure,
We're gonna have a
hopefully,
barbecue.
I'm gonna take
and-
my son and his new dirt bike because
Yeah.
he's learning
That'd
how to
be
ride,
awesome.
so he's excited about it.
Just make sure everyone has boots and
Yep.
a helmet,
Helmet.
gloves.
Yep.
a waiver.
Geared up and
Yeah,
waiver.
waiver.
Yeah, let's not forget the waiver.
Yeah.
Awesome. Guys, well, thanks for coming on and talking
Thank
to us a little
you
bit.
for
I think there's a lot of
having
people in
us.
Albuquerque maybe don't know much about the Litas, so it'd be cool to get this out there. And you never
would
know.
love to see
you
more
might
women
get more
show
women
up.
than you can handle. Kind of like Tyson.
take 'em.
More
We'll
women
take
than
'em.
he can
Yep.
handle.
Yep.
Steve's trying to get me in trouble and cancel.
And time out. All in one episode.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming
Thank
out.
you
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Yeah.
Mentioned you can find us on Instagram at the Litas _Albuquerque, and those are the 2 spots where we're most present.
Do you want to give out your phone number so people can call you personally
Not
with
necessarily.
motorcycle questions?
Oops! I accidentally gave Tyson's number.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming
Thank
out.
you
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Yeah,
Appreciate
it's going to
it.
be fun this Sunday.
Yeah, we're
This
excited.
Sunday, Moto Meetup,
Yep.
25th, 9 to noon.
Yep.
Bring out your bike. You don't have to be a Lita, but show up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And any bikes are welcome. Come on out and check it out. We want to thank Parnall Law, Bert Parnall and CJ over there for sponsoring this show. We get a lot of support from those guys, Allstate,
guys.
Parnall, and everybody else that comes out to these moto meetups and Cars and Coffee. So thank you, everyone. And
Yeah.
that's the show, guys.
All right, thank
Thanks
you.
for coming out.
Hey everybody, CJ from Parnall Law Firm, and as a lifelong motorcycle rider, I'm excited to be a part of the community here at Russ's Gold Racing, Russ's Gold Coffee. I love to come to the moto meetups every month, and we are supporting the web series this season. So the guys are going to take you on a bunch of new adventures, and we're going to be giving away a motorcycle. So stay tuned to YouTube, check out all the episodes, and we'll see you there. And remember, if you get hurt on your motorcycle, call Bert, 332-BERT.
American rocker is a matter of fact.